All right, so every single morning in kitchens all over the world, a quiet little debate is happening. Instant coffee or brewed coffee? I mean, they both promise that kick we need to get going, but the way they get from the bean into your cup, well, they couldn't be more different. So what really separates that quick and easy powder from a fresh pot of coffee? Let's get into it. This quote from a Reddit user just hits the nail on the head, right? Powdered mashed potatoes versus the real thing. It perfectly sets up the central conflict we're talking about today. The ultimate showdown between pure, lightning fast convenience and rich, undeniable quality. To really get to the bottom of this, we've got to follow the coffee bean down two completely separate paths, and it all starts with understanding what these two things fundamentally are. First things first, let's define our contenders. To get why they end up so different in the mug, we have to know what each one is at its very core. Okay, so instant coffee. The absolute key thing you got to remember here is that it's already been brewed long before you ever open the jar. Just think of it like this. It's a coffee concentrate that's had all the water sucked out, leaving behind a powder that's just waiting for you to add water back in. It is literally the just add water hero of the coffee world. Brewed coffee, on the other hand, is all about that real-time experience. You take the ground beans, you pour the hot water over them, and you are the one in control of pulling out all those amazing flavors and aromas right then and there. It's a fresh performance every single time. So, those definitions are a direct result of two wildly different manufacturing journeys. This, right here, is where the paths for our two coffees really split. The journey for instant coffee is, well, it's a huge industrial operation. They start with beans, often the Robusta kind because it's cheaper and has a bigger caffeine kick. They roast them, grind them, and brew them into this massive, super strong concentrate. And then comes the magic part, dehydration. They either blast it with hot air, which is called spray drying, or freeze dry it in a vacuum to get rid of all the water. What's left behind is just the soluble coffee solids. And then you have brewed coffee. And the contrast couldn't be more stark. It's a much more direct, two-step dance that you do yourself. You grind the beans and you brew them. That's it. The journey from the whole bean to the liquid in your cup is incredibly short, and that plays a huge role in how it ends up tasting. Now for the fun part, the sensory showdown. Let's dig into how those massive differences in process directly affect what you taste, what you smell, and how it feels in your mouth when you take that first sip. Okay, let's break this down. On the left, with instant coffee, that whole industrial drying process we talked about, it's pretty harsh, and a lot of those delicate, amazing smelling aromatic compounds just disappear. That's why it can sometimes taste a bit milder or even flat, and the aroma is way more muted. But on the right, with brewed coffee, because it's so fresh, you get to keep all those fantastic oils and compounds. That's where you get that robust, complex flavor, with notes of fruit or chocolate, and that full-bodied, satisfying feeling in your mouth that so many of us are chasing. Okay, so we've talked process, we've talked taste, but now let's put on our lab coats for a minute and look at the chemistry. What's actually going on with caffeine and all the other compounds inside your mug? Now this one might actually surprise you. Cup for cup, brewed coffee generally packs more of a caffeine punch. An average 8-ounce cup of brewed coffee has around 100 milligrams of caffeine, while that same cup of instant is closer to about 75. And the main reason is pretty simple. You just use more coffee grounds when you're brewing a fresh pot. This is fascinating. First, the good news, both types are loaded with antioxidants, which is fantastic. But here are two really key differences. Instant coffee has about double the amount of acrylamide. That's a compound that forms during roasting that could be a concern in super high doses. However, unfiltered brewed coffee, like from a French press, has these things called diterpenes, which can slightly raise your LDL or bad cholesterol. Instant and filter coffee, they have almost none. So it's a bit of a trade-off. So here we are, the final verdict. After looking at how they're made, how they taste, and what's inside them, which one should you choose? Well, as it turns out, the better coffee is all about your priorities. It really all comes down to this trade-off. Instant coffee gives you speed and convenience that is just impossible to beat. It's cheap, and it has an insanely long shelf life. Perfect for camping, traveling, or those mornings when you just need caffeine now. Brewed coffee, on the other hand, gives you a far superior sensory experience. The taste, the smell, the whole ritual of making it, but yeah, it takes more time, you need equipment, and it costs a little more per cup. So, in the end, there's no right or wrong answer here, just the right coffee for the right situation. So the next time you go to make a cup, maybe just ask yourself, is this a quick fix or is this a quality moment? The choice is always yours.